Hello, everybody. Welcome back to, I believe this is part 34 of Sci-Fi Read Aloud. We're going to continue through chapter 18 of 20,000 Leagues. That day being Christmas Day, Ned Land seemed to regret sorely the non-celebration of Christmas, the family fete of which Protestants are so fond. I had not seen Captain Nemo for a week when, on the morning of the 27th, he came into the large drawing room, always seeming as if he had seen you 5 minutes before. I was busily tracing the route of the Nautilus on the planisphere. The captain came up to me, put his finger on one spot on the chart, and said this single word, Vanikoro. The effect was magical. It was the name of the island on which Laperouse had been lost. I rose suddenly. "The Nautilus has brought us to Vanikoro?" I asked. "Yes, Professor," said the captain. "And I can visit the celebrated islands where the Boussole and the Astrolabe struck?" "As you like, Professor." "When shall we be there?" "We are there now." Followed by Captain Nemo, I went up on the platform and greedily scanned the horizon. To the northeast, two volcanic islands emerged, of unequal size, surrounded by a coral reef that measured 40 miles in circumference. We were close to Vanikoro, really the one to which Dumont d'Urville gave the name of Ile de la Recherche, and exactly facing the little harbor of Vaino, situated in 16 degrees 4 hours south latitude and 164 degrees 32 hours east longitude. The earth seemed covered with verdure from the shore to the summits in the interior, that were crowned by Mount Capogo, 476 feet high. The Nautilus, having passed the outer belt of rocks by a narrow strait, found itself among breakers where the sea was from 30 to 40 fathoms deep. Under the verdant shade of some mangroves, I perceived some savages who appeared greatly surprised at our approach. In the long black body, moving between wind and water, they did not see some formidable cetacean that they regarded with suspicion. Just then, Captain Nemo asked me what I knew about the wreck of Laperouse. "Only what everyone knows, Captain," I replied. "And could you tell me what everyone knows about it?" he inquired ironically. "Easily." I related to him all that the last works of Dumont d'Urville had made known, works from which the following is a brief account. Laperouse, at his second, Captain de Langle, were sent by Louis XV in 1785 on the voyage of circumnavigation. They embarked in the corvettes the Boussole and the Astrolabe, neither of which were again heard of. In 1791, the French government, just uneasy as to the fate of these two sloops, managed two large merchantmen, the Recherche and the Espérance, which left Brest the 28th of September under the command of Brunei d'Entrecasteaux. 2 months after, they learned from Bowen, commander of the Albemarle, that the debris of shipwrecked vessels had been seen on the coasts of New Georgia. But d'Entrecasteaux, ignoring his communication, rather uncertain besides, directed his course toward the Admiralty Isles, mentioned in a report of Captain Hunter's as being the place where Laperouse was wrecked. They sought in vain. The Espérance at the Recherche passed before Vanikoro without stopping there, and in fact this voyage was most disastrous, as it cost d'Entrecasteaux his life and those of 2 of his lieutenants, besides several of his crew. Captain Dillon, a shrewd old Pacific sailor, was the first to find unmistakable traces of the wrecks. On the 15th of May, 1824, his vessel, the New St. Patrick, passed close to Tocopia, one of the New Hebrides. There, a Lascar came alongside in a canoe, sold him the handle of a sword in silver that bore the print of characters engraved on the hilt. The Lascar pretended that 6 years before, During a stay at Vanikoro, he had seen two Europeans that belonged to some vessels that had run aground on the reefs some years ago. Dillon guessed that he meant Laperouse, whose disappearance had troubled the whole world. He tried to get on to Vanikoro, where, according to the Lascar, he would find numerous debris of the wreck, but winds and tide prevented him. Dillon returned to Calcutta. There, he interested the Asiatic Society and the Indian Company in his discovery. A vessel which was given the name of the Recherche was put at his disposal, and he set out January 23, 1827, accompanied by a French agent. The Recherche, after touching at several points in the Pacific, cast anchor before Vanikoro July 7, 1827, in this same harbor of Venot where the Nautilus was at this time. There it collected numerous relics of the wreck: iron utensils, anchors, pulley straps, swivel guns, an 18-pound shot, fragments of astronomical instruments, a piece of crown work, and a bronze clock, bearing this inscription, Bazin Mlefat, the mark of the foundry of the arsenal at Brest, about 1785. There could have been no further doubt. Dillon, having made all inquiries, stayed in the unlucky place till October. Then he quitted Vanikoro and directed his course toward New Zealand, put into Calcutta April 7, 1828, and returned to France, where he was warmly welcomed by Charles X. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back with the final part of Chapter 18 tomorrow.